All right, and joining me now is Cole Smith, who fights Hunter Azure at UFC Vegas 9, Overeem versus Sakai. So, Cole, I wanted to start by talking about your last fight because you're coming off of a tough split decision loss. I know it's the first loss of your professional career. How did you go about dealing with that? Because I know, obviously, a split decision loss, a lot of people think you won that fight. How did you hit the gym and work on, maybe some of the things that didn't get you the victory?
Uh, well, just right off the bat, that's what everyone's your first loss, man. It wasn't my first loss. I've lost as an amateur. I've lost in millions of different sports growing up. I've been an athlete my whole life. So it's not a big deal when you don't put so much pressure on the undefeated, all that shit. You know what I mean? This fight game is too hard. The fighters are too good. You're not going to be undefeated for very long. So of course I knew that would happen once you get to the UFC, best fighters in the world. But of course it was a tough one, Rogers Arena, my home city, it was a close fight. Miles is incredibly tough, man. He was super durable, he was super good. But I just got back to the drawing board. I worked on a lot of the things that I thought I could have capitalized on, and things that I didn't do so well. Second fight in the UFC at Rogers Arena, there was a lot of pressure on me, you know what I mean? And so I kind of was in my head a little bit too much, and so I really worked on just the mental aspect of it, and I think that's helped quite a bit.
And was there anything particularly you did to help yourself mentally? Is there a lot of visualizing you're doing? Are you seeing mental coaches, things like that?
Um, as funny as it sounds, man, but like meditating helps so much, trying to just focus on your thoughts and not have your mind racing. It's super challenging, you know what I mean? And I've been doing that quite a bit, and I've just been trying to enjoy the ride. The last one, I didn't enjoy the ride so much. It was just you're fighting. This one, I'm in the UFC. I'm having a great time. I'm a young guy. I'm early in my career. Just enjoy the ride, man. If you don't enjoy the ride, get off the train. So I've just been having a good time with it.
Well, I like that. Now, you also mentioned in there too that you've felt some pressure being at home. The vast majority of your fights have been in Canada, a couple in Thailand as well. But this fight now is your first one in the United States. And in addition to that, I know this gets said a ton, but no crowd, right? So you go from that situation where you felt a lot of pressure. Do you feel like the Apex is a better place for you to get your mind in the right place?
I have no idea. I guess we're gonna have to see once I get there. You know what I mean? But I mean, I fought it. I fought with zero crowds. So I can't imagine it being a huge difference. You know what I mean? It is kind of nice to. It's almost like it's not in the UFC, as weird as it sounds. You know what I mean? Like, there's smaller cage and there's no crowd, and so so yeah, I'm just gonna enjoy the fight this time, and we'll see how it goes.
I like that. Now you mentioned too the smaller cage too. I'm interested. Do you have a take on that too? Do you feel a particular way about the cage size?
Not really. Where I was fighting throughout my whole career in Battlefield, but it's roughly the exact same size. So I'm pretty used to the smaller cages, and I don't think that should matter. You know what I mean? If you're a fighter and you're good, it shouldn't matter where the fight takes place. So
Makes a lot of sense to me. Now, let's talk about this fight coming up because you come off fighting a guy you mentioned, Miles John, very tough guy, very physically strong guy. You're fighting a guy who a lot of people could draw some similarities to, right? Like Hunter Azure, also a shorter guy, much more muscular. Likes to wrestle a little bit. Do you feel like he matches up stylistically pretty similar with Miles, or have you found some pretty big differences?
I've fought the same guys over and over again. Early in my career, I fought Jamie Siraj, right? He was a little shorter. He was super good in the scrambles. He had hands. Then I made my debut versus Mitch Gagnon, a little bit shorter, hands, wrestler. Then I fought Miles, now I'm fighting him. So, I've prepared for this for a while.
And do you feel like you'd like to fight that style? I mean, obviously that's not a style a ton of people like to see standing across the cage from him because it's grinding. Maybe sometimes it's a little less fun to watch. How do you feel that you keep getting that style?
It doesn't matter, man. You know what I mean? It just a fight's a fight, man, and it's just the next guy. Like, I mean, I hate to quote Conor McGregor, but it's you are you are against yourself in there. You know what I mean? And if you're fighting at your full capacity and doing what you should be doing, you should be able to beat anybody on any day. So, you know, it's really you versus yourself in there, and you know, you should be able to take care of yourself versus whatever style.
Well, I love the mindset you got going into this fight. Now, I did want to ask you a couple of questions about early in your career, too, because I noticed, you know, like you said, you fought a lot for Battlefield. It's almost exclusively in Canada in your early career. There's also a couple of fights in Thailand in there, too. I was wondering if you could tell us, how did you wind up in Thailand for a chunk of your fights there?
It's funny because I was actually warming up in the BFL cage one day, and there was ex-UFC fighter Jeremy Kennedy. He's in PFL now, and he was standing across, and I heard about him, and I knew he was super good, and I heard he was training in Thailand. He was a young man at that time. I think he was 22 or something, and I just kind of jokingly was like, "Hey, bro, I heard you're training in Thailand. You know, I'm gonna come out there and train with you." And it was just a joke. And then the next day, he messaged me online and was like, "Hey, bro, I don't know if you were serious, but I'll get you sponsored out here and you can come out." And 2 weeks later, I went out and I was just hooked, man. I stayed out there for a year. I came home. I went back out for 6 or 7 months. I came home. I went back out, you know, 4 or 5 times. And Thailand's great, man. And I can't wait till all this shit is over with so I can go back out for a few weeks.
Well, and that's what I was going to ask too. Is this something that, you know, obviously pandemic notwithstanding, is this something you plan on doing for a lot of your fight career? Do you feel like you get good work over there when you head over there?
It's not just the good work that's out there. It's the lifestyle that's very compelling. You know, it's very there's no distractions. There's not much else to do, and I've got a lot of good friends that are still out there from 5-6 years ago. That, you know, I got some of my best friends that are just still out there. So I want to go and see them. I want to train, and it's kind of the whole package out there. You know what I mean? I want to drive my little scooter, man. It was boss. Good time. Just overall, it's a good time. You know, the food is super good, training's good, lifestyle's easy. Wearing my shorts and sandals on my scooter, man, it's all good.
I love that. Now, when you head out there, though, do we have to worry about the weight? Are we worried about a weight cut when you training in Thailand?
Not for the Muay Thai fights. I took a bunch of Muay Thai fights, man, and it was just, hey, I want to fight on Wednesday, you know, and it'll be on Monday, and they'll be like, yeah, okay, we'll find you somebody, and you just show up to the arena, and they point at the guy, okay, you're fighting him, you know, you size him up, yeah, we look pretty identical, all right. So there's no real weigh-ins. Oh, actually, when I fought my first pro fight out there, Buddy missed weight by 10 pounds though. So what they did was he had to finish me to win, or win every single round to draw. He had to win every round to draw or finish me. So he was in a tough position, you know what I mean? I ended up beating him in like 3 minutes, but whatever.
I like that. Would you like that kind of style in MMA? You miss weight, you have to fight 3 points down.
Well, yeah, I mean the purse isn't enough, you know, because I don't know if you know the stats, but I think like 90% of fighters who don't make weight end up winning the fight. You know what I mean? So I think I would rather a point be taken off rather than getting 20% of the purse, because I don't think it doesn't really match up, you know?
I like that. Now I'm curious too, just because we've been talking about mindset, and I like where your head's at coming into this fight. How much of that mindset from Thailand of just kind of anybody in front of me, you just point to him, I make sure he's roughly the same size as me. How much of that do you carry into the cage when you fight MMA now and when you're in the UFC?
Yeah, it's kind of like you're kind of prepared for anything at that point. You know what I mean? I've kind of seen it all. You know what I mean? So it kind of makes it kind of, you know, when you have someone to prepare for 6 weeks, it makes it a little bit easier than just waking up and finding out who you're fighting. Actually, sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's nice to just have no idea and you just go and we'll see who's the better man on the day. You know, it's interesting.
I like that. Well, we've come to the end of this interview, and now I've got to ask you about who's going to be the better man a week from this upcoming Saturday. You're fighting against Hunter Azure. How do you see the fight ending here? How do you see you getting it done?
I've been asked this question before, man, and I feel like MMA is just who the fuck knows. I could say I'm gonna land a spinning back kick, and I ankle lock him. You know what I mean? I could say a million different things, and you just never know, man. The sport is way too difficult to call like that, unless you're Mystic Mac.
Well, regardless, we are looking forward to that fight. Once again, folks, this was Cole Smith, who fights Hunter Azure at UFC in Vegas 9. That's Overeem versus Sakai. Cole, thanks so much for the time, man. I really appreciate it.
No problem, brother. Thanks for having me.